It was Wednesday morning, and the burnt coffee in the break room hit my stomach like a slap in the face. I'd just finished another logistics report when I heard the sound of dress shoes clicking against the tile floor. Not the usual shuffle of a coworker, but the sharp, deliberate steps of someone I didn't recognize. Then he walked in, Trent, owner's kid, early 30s, suit so expensive it looked like it had been made from the skin of the rich. Fake confidence, fresh MBA attitude. He strutted in like he owned the place, like he'd invented the idea of business meetings. I'd been at Barrow Freight for almost 26 years, knew every contract, every client, built half of the systems he was now restructuring. No greeting, just a flat, "Frank, office now." He didn't offer me a seat, just leaned against his dad's old desk, like he was trying to channel some authority he didn't have. "You're done here," he said, looking at me like I was a worn-out piece of machinery. The clause had been my quiet insurance. He'd never read it, not properly anyway. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Mr. Barrow, and he was furious. "Do you even know who we fired?" he barked. I could hear someone else in the background. "Get in here. We're about to lose 30% of our revenue if you don't show up for the 10 a.m. renewal." I didn't need to be told twice. Scene 3, terms of return, my conditions or nothing. I walked into the building the next morning, 9:30 a.m., sharp. Parked in the executive loop, not the employee lot. People were staring. They'd heard the rumors, but seeing me there? They weren't expecting that. Trent had texted me 5 times. "Let's be professional." Like he hadn't just tried to wipe me off the map 24 hours ago. Mr. Barrow met me on the top floor, handed me a new contract. I took it, calm as anything. Trent was already in the office, pale and silent, looking like he had swallowed his own tongue. I looked straight at him. "You should have read the fine print," I said. He didn't answer. Couldn't. He knew he was done. Scene 4, sealing the deal. This room was mine. Now. Kessler Imports showed up at 10 a.m. like clockwork. Mr. Kessler himself stood when he saw me. "Heard you were gone," he said, grinning. Was about to walk. "I'm here," I said, holding up the contract. "Let's get this done." I ran that meeting like I always had. Clean, focused, sharp. Mr. Barrow stayed quiet, a shadow in the corner. Trent paced outside the glass like a bystander at his own undoing. 40 minutes later, the deal was signed. Kessler shook my hand and said, "Glad to see someone around here still knows what they're doing." I nodded, feeling a cold satisfaction. The world hadn't changed, just the players. I told Mr. Barrow straight up I'd come back, but it wouldn't be on anyone's terms but mine. My voice was steady, but there was no mistaking the edge. "My role gets restored," I said. "Job security in writing, full authority over all the legacy contracts, and Trent's got to stay out of my way, permanently." Mr. Barrow didn't flinch. He knew better than to argue, but I wasn't finished. "Oh, and I'm not using the back entrance," I added. "Not anymore." He gave me a long look, then a slow nod. "You've got it." I don't know if it was relief or just plain old knowing I'd won, but it felt like the first real breath I'd taken in a while. I didn't need to say more. He understood what was at stake now. He knew who still ran this place. The next morning, I walked in at 9:30, sharp. I parked in the executive loop, not the employee lot. People stared, their eyes wide and nervous. The rumor mill had already kicked into overdrive, but no one expected to see me walking in like I owned the place again. Trent had texted me 5 times. "Let's be professional," he said, as if trying to erase the fact that just the day before, he had all but thrown me out the door like trash. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. When I stepped into the building, the air felt different. Tension buzzed around me. I walked past desks, catching the whispers, the looks. Everyone knew what had happened. No one knew what would come next, but they were all waiting to see if I still had the same power. They didn't realize that it had never been about the office, the title, or the corner office. It had always been about the contracts, and I still held the keys. Mr. Barrow was waiting for me on the top floor. He didn't waste time. As soon as I walked in, he handed me the new contract, already signed on his end. I took it, calm as anything, not giving him the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. "Here you go," he said, his voice low. There was a weariness there, but it wasn't the same kind I'd seen earlier. He was ready. He knew it was time for change. I glanced over at Trent, sitting in the corner of the office, looking like he'd seen a ghost. He was as white as a sheet, and I could practically feel the sweat dripping off him. He didn't say a word, not a single word. I didn't let the silence linger. I walked over to him, my boots clicking on the floor like a countdown. I stopped just short of his desk and looked him straight in the eye. "You should have read the fine print," I said. The words landed heavy. He couldn't meet my gaze, but I didn't need him to. He already knew. He had underestimated me. And now he was stuck watching me take back what was mine. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. The silence was all the answer I needed. I didn't care if the entire office was watching. I didn't care if Mr. Barrow had given me the go-ahead, or if Trent was about to lose everything. I'd fought for this, and now it was mine again. Thursday morning, I sat down at my desk, ready to start the day, when I saw an email from Kessler's logistics team pop up in my inbox. The subject line was sharp, accusing. "Why'd you delay our shipment 2 weeks?" My gut twisted, but I didn't panic. I opened it up and pulled up the email thread. And there it was. An email forged under my name, claiming that the shipment had been delayed for internal review and would take another 2 weeks. It looked real enough to make anyone second-guess it, but I'd never sent it. I'd never approved it. I hit the forward button, about to send a response clarifying the situation. But I stopped myself. Trent was behind this. I could feel it in my bones. Friday, I went to submit my expenses from the meeting. It was routine stuff: hotel, flight, meals, nothing extraordinary. But when I pulled up the report, it came back with a big red flag: unauthorized travel. Trent had flagged it. I hadn't done anything wrong. I'd booked everything through the proper channels. But now, he was making sure that it looked like I'd made a mistake. Again, it wasn't obvious sabotage. Just a quiet little hit, enough to make me look like I was mismanaging things. Monday, I submitted a spreadsheet that had been approved the week before, but when I checked the file, it had come back with a note, riddled with errors. I looked it over, and it was full of changes. Numbers shifted, formulas broken. It was clean when I sent it. The mistakes had been made after it was submitted. I sat back in my chair, feeling a slow burn inside my chest. It wasn't obvious sabotage, no. He wasn't being careless about it. This was the kind of sabotage that was quiet, slow. A little mistake here, a small error there, just enough to make me look like I was slipping, like I couldn't handle my job anymore. But I knew better. I'd seen this before. I knew exactly what this was. I opened a new folder on my desktop and started logging every single thing. Emails, denied expenses, documents that had been altered after submission. I took screenshots, saved everything, dates, times, exact wording. If Trent thought he could grind me down by making me look sloppy, he was about to find out that I wasn't going down without a fight. Not this time. I'd fought for years to build my reputation here. He wasn't going to erase that with a few tweaks and a couple of false accusations. Not without a very good fight. I kept track of everything. Logs, screenshots. I saved everything, made notes, and filed it all neatly. No one would be able to say I didn't have the proof when it was time to bring this into the light. Because it would be. I wasn't going to let him get away with it. The longer I sat there, the more I realized what he was doing. It wasn't about just getting me out. It was about making me doubt myself, making me question whether I still had control. But the thing was, I knew better. I knew exactly what was going on. I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. The next time something came across my desk, I'd be ready. This time, I wouldn't let it slide. I knew he was playing the long game, chipping away at me, making sure everyone saw me as the problem, not the solution. But I wasn't about to let him get away with it. That night, I sat in my truck, parked in my driveway, and made a choice. I wasn't 28 anymore. I didn't have the energy to fight like I did back then. But I had something better now, patience and experience. I wasn't going to punch back with emotion. I'd fight smart. I pulled out my phone and reviewed everything. The emails, the denied expenses, the altered documents, everything Trent had done to try and make me look incompetent. I wasn't going to let him wear me down with petty sabotage. This time, I'd build something stronger, a wall around my name. Every single time he messed with me, I logged it. I didn't send angry replies. I didn't send any replies at all. I just saved the evidence. And every time something got flagged, every time he tried to chip away at my reputation, I CC'd someone in legal. If he thought he could make me look bad and get away with it, he had another thing coming. I walked into the boardroom, the door sliding shut behind me with a soft click that sounded louder than it was. The usual faces were there, Mr. Barrow at the head of the table, his usual poker face in place. But there was something different in his eyes, something calculating. Beside him sat a couple of people from compliance and legal. They looked like they'd been briefed, like they knew what was coming. Then there was Trent, sitting at the far end of the table, his shoulders hunched and his eyes darting around like he was a man about to be mugged. The tension in the room was so thick it felt physical. I could feel it too. The weight of everything that had happened, the buildup of lies, the games he'd played, and now, finally, it was all coming to light. David from the audit team clicked the remote and the projector hummed to life, casting a sharp blue glow on the whiteboard behind him. He didn't waste any time. He went straight into it. "Let's start with the fake emails," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Here's the Kessler Logistics email, forged under Frank's name. As you can see, it was sent from an internal company address, but it wasn't Frank who sent it." He clicked to the next slide, pulling up a screenshot of the email. The timestamps, the details, they were all there. Every bit of evidence laid out like a criminal case. Trent shifted uncomfortably in his seat, but didn't say a word. David moved on, clicking through a few more slides. "Next up, doctored spreadsheets. Here's the version Frank submitted. Clean, accurate, and here's the one that came back with errors, changes made after the fact. We've traced those edits to Trent's login." Trent's face paled as David moved to the next slide. "Unauthorized logins. Here's the data showing Trent accessing shared workstations. We've got logs, timestamps, and even camera footage. All of it clearly showing Trent logging in on the exact day the Kessler forgery occurred." The room was dead silent. Every eye was on Trent now, and I could feel the heat of it, could see the sweat starting to bead on his forehead. He was trapped, and he knew it. When David flipped to the next slide, it was like the point of no return. A slide showing Trent's credentials used on the day the Kessler email was sent. There was no denying it now. Trent's jaw clenched. "This is circumstantial," he shot back, his voice rising, but it didn't have the same conviction it had before. It was all bluster now. He was cornered. David didn't flinch. "Circumstantial, sure, but the pattern is clear, and you can't explain the footage of you logging in at that time." He let the words hang in the air for a moment, letting them sink in. Mr. Barrow didn't yell. He didn't need to. He was in control now, every inch of it. He looked at Trent, and I could see the disappointment on his face, but it wasn't about sympathy. It was about something else, something final. "I gave you every chance," Mr. Barrow said, his voice quiet but heavy with the weight of everything. "And you tried to bury the one person who could fix this place." Trent didn't answer. He couldn't. There was nothing left for him to say. His head dropped, and I could see him deflate, all the air gone out of him. He knew it was over. The door opened, and 2 security guards stepped in, their presence more formality than anything else. Trent's chair scraped against the floor as he stood up, but there was no fight left in him. No fire. He walked out, his shoulders slumped, the image of a man beaten by his own arrogance. The room remained still, the only sound the soft shuffle of papers and the hum of the projector. Mr. Barrow didn't say anything for a long moment, just sat there, staring at the door Trent had walked out of. Finally he spoke, his tone even but firm. "Make sure the necessary steps are taken. His shares are frozen. He's done." I didn't say anything. There was nothing left to say. Trent had built his own fall, and he'd done it with a quiet, methodical stupidity. And now, it was done. I sat back, feeling the weight lift, just a little. Trent was gone, and Barrow Freight was still here. I was still here, maybe more than ever. As the meeting wound down and people filed out, I stayed back for a second. Mr. Barrow didn't rush me. He just gave me a nod, a quiet acknowledgement. "You handled this," he said, a small but real smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "I won't forget it." I nodded back, the weight of it finally hitting me. This was over. Trent had played his hand, and he'd lost. But me? I was still here, and I'd made damn sure no one would forget that. Mr. Barrow slid a folder across the desk, his fingers brushing against the edges as he pushed it toward me. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I need more than a fix," he said, looking me straight in the eye. "I need a future? You in?" I opened the folder. Inside was the COO offer, the kind of thing most people only dream about. Authority over every client, every contract, direct line to him, no one else. The words hit me like a punch in the chest, not because I didn't expect it, I'd known this was coming, but because of how very close I'd come to walking away. But I'd fought my way here, and now this was the kind of power I'd earned. I looked up at him, taking a beat before I spoke. "I'll do it," I said, my voice steady. "But only if you stop protecting people just because they share your name." He didn't blink, didn't flinch, just nodded once. No more blind spots. That was it. That was all I needed to hear. I signed the contract. No grand speeches, no drama, just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I was finally in control. I left his office and walked through the building. The usual hum of office life felt different now, lighter. People stepped aside as I passed, not out of fear, but out of respect. One guy from accounting, someone I hadn't really spoken to much, gave me a nod. "About time," he said with a grin. I gave him a tight smile in return. I didn't need to say anything else. The air in the office felt different, like people knew the balance had shifted, and the man who had been calling the shots wasn't coming back. I walked down the hallway, past the empty desks, and stopped in front of my new office. The door was open, but the plate with my name hadn't been put up yet. It didn't matter. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was empty, but that was fine. I didn't need a nameplate to prove I belonged here. I'd already written my name into the bones of this place, one contract, one deal at a time. I ran my fingers over the edge of the desk, taking a breath. This was mine now. Not just the office, but everything that came with it. I had the power, the responsibility, and I was ready. Before we wrap up, where are you listening from?